Welcome back to the channel. Boom. So we are gonna have to talk about haters, aren't we? Because I've had a few creep up on my channel today, and they think I'm rattled, but I'm not. But I'm game to get them telt. You know what I mean? Tell them how it is, because what we're gonna go into today is the differences between certain haters and then trolls and just offensive people, right? So and I'm going to tell you how it works. So for example, I got told that I'm bald, 50 and low libido, right? Which is funny because I'm not 50, but at the end of the day, take the piss out my age doesn't affect us because I can't control my age. And you're going to be 50 one day as well. You know what I mean? We're all going to be 40. We're all going to be 30. We're all going to be 50 if you're lucky, right? So, in this day and age, right? A guy like me getting a 41, which I am, and being in the condition I'm in is very rare. That gives me a high level of confidence. And then when you're saying about my libido, right? Mate, I wake up with absolute weapons, man. Yeah? And this is the thing, right? The reason so I'm gonna get it down straight to you, because I've always been a guy who tells it like it is. They're poisoning your water, they're poisoning your food, they're poisoning your air, and they're poisoning your mind. And you're falling victim to it. Left, right, and centre. Most people. If you're watching this, you might not be falling victim, but you still can fall victim to it. Yeah? So when I'm losing my hair and I know why it is, it doesn't bother me. Yeah? It doesn't bother me one little bit. And so that's when we're going to get into the other things where you take the piss out of people. If you take so there's two ways of looking at it. Take, for example, someone who's overweight in this body positivity movement. The body positivity movement was for everyone to be proud of their body. But they've took it out of context. So you should be proud of the things you can't control. So I should be proud of the way I am. Me wrinkly forehead, me big spot here. But this is just microplastics getting oozed out of my body. I've got lumps. I've got lumps up here on the side of this. We're all coming out in these lumps because it's the toxins in our body that they're putting in the food and the water and the air that are being rejected from our bodies. You know what I mean? That's why when you go to the doctor, they don't know what it is. They're like, oh, I don't know what it is. We could take a test. It's just microplastics that your body's building up and depositing somewhere clear out the way from affecting your organs. Right? Because they are poisoning you. It's a straight up fact. Don't let them think that they're not. You know what I mean? And I know this because other countries don't accept this. This country is toxic. That's why everyone's mental health's going downhill at a helter-skelter rate. Right? And unless you get the mindset that I've got, you're gonna fall victim. Massive, right? So, for example, back to the body positivity movement. If you directly take the piss out of someone's weight now, that's deemed as highly offensive. But the doctor, when the patient or the person who's overweight goes to the doctor, and the doctor tells them, you're overweight because of your lack of exercise, or you're overweight because of your diet, or your health conditions are because of your weight loss, and we're not going to prescribe you any drugs or medication because you need to lose the weight, or we're not going to put you in any surgery because you need to lose the weight, you can't take offense to that. You know what I mean? So the goal is if you see someone letting their weight get out of control or letting their health get into control, it's our responsibility as a society to intervene and make sure that that person doesn't let themselves go too far. That's a good friend. That's a good family member. So I do it to my dad. I'm like, you need to curb your drinking. Yeah? in his blood pressure. So well, I'm not going to go into other people's health problems, but that's an example, right? So I'm always like hot on my friends and family who started letting themselves go. My friend did it to me many years ago when I was knocking around with the wrong people, and he said, you need to stop knocking around with him because he's a waste of space. And I was just trying to help the kid, but it turns out my mate was right, and so I just jogged him on. And the mate I jogged on come back for advice, and he was like, oh, Steve, I'm proper struggling. And I said, mate, man, it's who you're knocking around with, man. You know what I mean? You need to... So he went had to leave the area for him to like sort his life out, because sometimes in life you're only a part of the surrounding. You're only like who you are, like who you surround yourself with. In a sort of way, you know what I mean? So if you hang around with people who take drugs, you're most likely going to end up taking drugs. And then if you want to escape that and go and knock around with people who go to the gym, that's fantastic as well. But then if you join that gym and everyone's taking steroids, like it's not going to be long before you're on the steroids as well. And these are the sort of things that are in your control. So when somebody comes up to me and says, oh, you're not muscly, like that kind of thing pisses me off, because I'm in control of that. And when they're hating on me for that, what they're trying to do is take control from me and put it in their power. So, for example, if somebody says, oh, your pull-ups are shit, you should stop doing them. You should start doing them correctly. What happens in the brain is the brain starts to contradict itself and say like, oh, well, I can't do these pull-ups. So I posted a one about pull-ups the other day, in fact, today, and mentioned that if you are doing pull-ups and you're not doing the form correctly, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because eventually when your body does get strong enough, as long as the long-term goal is for you to do a correct pull-up or a correct push-up, you've got to stick to that. You've got to stick to that regime. You've got to stick to it. Get on the pull-up bar, use assistant bands, go to the gym, use that knee thing where you're doing the assisted pull-ups, right? Do half pull-ups, do anything you can to get up, right? And just keep doing it. And it's weeks, months down the line before you actually do a proper pull-up. So when someone's taking the piss out of your pull-ups, sometimes your brain will want to stop doing them pull-ups. And that's their goal. That's the hater's goal, is to bring you back down to their level, because they don't want to see you achieving that pull-up eventually, because it makes them feel weak and worthless, because that's, especially if it's their goal as well. So if it's their goal to do pull-ups, so a normal guy would come up and say, oh, can I have some advice? How do you get to do these pull-ups? But a hater will always say, oh, you're fucking doing your pull-ups wrong anyway. You should stop and give up. And a lot of people fall victim to that. So if somebody takes the piss out of my saying that I'm not muscly, my brain's instantly starting to say, oh, Steve, I don't think you're muscly. You've got to go out and get more muscles, or you've got to go out and take steroids. And I've got to have that internal battle in my head to say, no, I don't have to. I don't have to do anything. I'm a runner. So my goal is to have the ultimate body for running. So my goal is, if it's aesthetics, is to look like a runner on the track in elite athletics, yeah? So if I'm a 100-meter runner, I want to look like Usain Bolt or Linford Christie, you know what I mean? Big, strong, powerful, big glutes, big thighs, powerful arms, and a good core. That's what it takes to sprint. But if I wanted to be a long distance runner, then you would look at them, and that's the only time you should ever compare yourself to someone, is if you go to the gym and you see all the yoga people coming out and you see them all looking thin and slim. If you want to look like them, join that class. If you see all the boxer size people coming out, pumped, muscly, ripped, join that class. If you see all the guys coming out the strength gym, absolutely colossal, massive muscles, benching 120 kilos, go in that room. Because if you join that circle, you're going to become that's what you're going to become, you know what I mean? And it's the same with knocking around with haters, you're going to become a hater. If you're not around with lovers, you're going to become a lover. If you're not around with drug takers, you're going to be a drug taker. If you're not about with drinkers, you're going to become a drinker. If you're not around with footballers, you're going to be a footballer. It's really that simple. Yeah? So it's really important to understand that. And like, because we're still getting a lot of bullies in like, I've just read a story about some lass in the army who self-deleted because she was getting harassment because our sergeant was harassing her and sexual assaulting her. But whose side did they take? Yeah, they took the sergeant's side. And that's exactly what happened to me when I grassed on my boss, right? When I grassed on my boss for bullying me, but they took his side. Yeah? This is what I mean, guys. They'll always take the person above their side. They'll always get away with it until this grass culture. That's what the problem is. People are scared of grass. Don't be scared of grass. Right? All that's back in the past now. You know what I mean? Like, don't grass on your mate, obviously. Don't be a snitch or a sweetgrass. But if you see something wrong in life that's going on, you have to nip it in the bud. It's so important, right? So it's just clear cut, you know what I mean? Like if you see your child going off on the wrong path, they need that guidance. People need guidance. So all the things in the world that are happening now, for example, like this body positivity movement, saying that it's okay to be comfortable in your body, not the way that in the things you can control. You've got to be comfortable in your body in the way the things you can't control, like your hair getting. Well, I mean, obviously you can go and get your hair done, but do you not think that's what they want? Do you not think that's how they're making their money? By poisoning your water, making all your hair fall out, messing with your hormones so your hair falls out, so that they can open a company that puts new hair follicles back in, because they're spending your tax money on the research anyway, so that they can find out how to create the problem and then create the solution. It's a fact. That's what I get so passionate about, you know what I mean? Of course it's a fact. Of course they're doing it. They're doing it with the climate and everything. They're so toxic. That's why we need Jesus soon, so he can put them all in their place, you know what I mean? We need wrath poured upon the world massively. And that's the thing, guys. Like, it's crazy. I'm going to tell you, the guys, for you guys, most men's mental health problem is because of low testosterone. That is what it is. Most men's mental health problems is because of low testosterone. And the way you up your testosterone isn't the way they're telling you on the TV or on the internet by taking Shilajit or taking cold showers. It's sprinting. Getting that heart rate up and putting some pound down on the ground, yeah? Or having a fight, getting into boxing or something like that, yeah? There is a couple of other secrets I've got of how to up your testosterone. One of them, you'll notice that if you've actually been following me for a long time, you'll notice that actually when I was on the soy milk, I was actually bigger back then than I am now. You know what I mean? I was actually bigger then when I was on the soy. Now I've actually stopped drinking soy for a bit, and I'm not as bulky, but my running is perfect. And anyway, guys, if you've still reached the end of this video, I'm going to give you the ultimate tip on why it's hard to build muscle. Is because of a protein thing called myostatin. So when I was at school, there was a kid with a six-pack. He had a six-pack all the time, guaranteed. And he used to get all the girls. And it was because he had what was called a myostatin deficiency. So if you're a naturally muscly person, that's because of the myostatin deficiency. So I think this is a weird flaw by God in a way. Like, why has God actually put this myostatin in that prevents us from having muscles? It's got to be a primitive survival thing because muscles are inefficient and you've got to give your body a reason to build muscle. But honestly, guys, Google myostatin. Myostatin, I think. Myostatin. And there's a few ways to block myostatin. One's hypertrophy. But hypertrophy doesn't happen in the gym. When you go to lift weights and go, oh, I'm doing hypertrophy training, that's all bullshit. The hypertrophy is the body's system of building the muscle back with amino acids. That's what the hypertrophy is. You know what I mean? Because hypertrophy is called muscle building, and the opposite to muscle building is dystrophy. So it's hypertrophy and dystrophy. So dystrophy is the act of muscle loss. So you know when you see all these celebrities on Ozempic, the reason they're losing the muscle and the weight is because of dystrophy. The body is eating away at the muscles, and it's got to be messing with this myostatin. It has to be. Like, I'm that close to finding out the holy grail of it all, literally that fucking close. And once I've got it, like, I'm going to be invincible. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I was like on the me reels earlier, just saying to them kids, like, well, bring it, we'll set up and see if you can throw us around like a empty tracksuit, you know what I mean? See what happens. I'd love it, you know what I mean? So guys, anyway, that's just me like sharing something, and like obviously I'm trying to put a positive edge on it. But honestly, you've got to be able to read between the lines and see through this bullshit that this world is filling you full of. You know what I mean? Last thing I'm going to say is I had a guy, I bumped into one of my old mates the other day, and he's come up to us and he said, oh, I've got to get back in the gym. I've got to get fit. I've got to get back in the gym. So I said to him, I said, well, why don't you get PT'd off me? And he was like, oh, I can do it myself. And I just thought, well, you obviously can't though. Why are you coming up to me and putting the accountability on me and saying like, oh, I've got to get back in the gym as if I've got your secret remedy? And the only secret remedy I've got for you is getting PT'd and giving me money and I'll get you gains. Because there's only so much I can do over the camera compared to what I can do for you one-to-one. One-to-one, I could turn anyone into an absolute savage. And so what he needs to do is go home and tell himself that. Because a lot of people will be like, I've got to go to the gym, I've got to go to the gym. And they're searching for that route to the gym, or they're searching for that confidence. Action is the only way to confidence. So if you are waiting for the confidence to join the gym, you need to sign up first. It's not the confidence then sign up. It's the sign up then confidence, right? So once you get the sign up, then you pretty much have to go, and your body will build that confidence to go because you've spent the money on it. The brain works in very funny ways like that. And that's why I get pissed off with the haters, because there's certain things they don't understand about the way the brain works. I call it the Carl Pilkington effect, or the KP effect, because this is what we're going to finish off on if you've made it to the end of this video. The Carl Pilkington effect is basically, Carl Pilkington says, do we control our brain, or does our brain control us? And if you listen to Goggins actually says it's really important for you to control your brain and not let your brain control you. So in a sense, even though Stephen Merchant and what's his name? The other one, Ricky Gervais, are laughing at him for what he's saying. It's true. You know what I mean? That your brain can control you. You know what I mean? It's when you get down into the science of the brain, Carl Pilkington actually knows quite a lot of shit. You know what I mean? He is an actor, so he is just putting on a personality and a persona. But he's right in the sense that, do we actually control our brains? And the last thing I'm going to finish off on, when my brain's telling me to say, you don't need to go for this run tonight because you're going to get too tired or it's going to be too hard. The complete opposite happens. So why is my brain trying to tell me not to go for that run when I do go for the run and I overcome my brain and I go for the run, I end up running better than I've ever ran that week or that month? You know what I mean? So my brain, there's a part of that brain trying to stop me from going out on that run because it doesn't want us to get gains. It doesn't want me in that place where I'm going to get the gains. It's weird. It's very weird, but you've got to overcome that. Anyway, guys, it's been 20 minutes, so I'm going to leave, and hopefully you've got some good information from that. So I'll speak to you later.